Hi, welcome to the second part of lesson 3.2. So in this part, we're going to start doing operations with complex numbers. So that means add, subtract, multiply, divide them. So if you look right here, they have an example of the sum and of the difference. Remember, add, subtract. So notice that we're just combining the like terms together. So your real numbers you add together, your imaginary numbers you add together. The difference one, however, you have to change the sign of this one. So you can think about it as distributed property. I'm going to do it a little different than how they do it, but if you like the way that they have set up and you want to follow that, you can. All right, so I'm looking at example 3. We have to add or subtract. So I see that this is an addition. So I can just combine my like terms. So my 8 and my 5 are the same. So I can combine those together. I can say 8 plus 5 and get 13. And then I want to combine my imaginary part. So I have minus I plus 4I. So remember, this is the same as 1. So if there is none, there is 1. So this is like saying negative 1 plus 4. So you take negative 1, you add 4, you get positive 3i. And this is in standard form, so this would be your final answer. So remember, standard form for imaginary numbers is a plus bi. So it has to be in this format. If not, it will mark it incorrect, and I will too. All right, so standard form. So real number first, imaginary second. All right, looking at this one, so the difference is we're subtracting this entire thing. And what happens is a lot of people will subtract the 3, but then they forget to also subtract the 6i. So the way that I look at it is I just go ahead and write down the first two terms, and I'm going to make these the opposite, because that's what subtraction is, adding the opposite. So I'm going to make this a negative 3, and I'm going to make the other one a positive 6i. So all I did was change their signs because they're being subtracted. And so now I can do what I did in the last part, and I can combine my real parts together. Oh, I forgot to do it like that. Boom. All right. So 7 minus 3 gives you 4. And then I'm going to combine my imaginary parts together. So negative 6i plus 6i gives us 0i. Now, do we write it like this? No, because 0 times anything is 0. So this cancels out the i's. And so your final answer would be a real number. It would just be 4. So this is adding and subtracting. I do have a few that I would like for you to pause the video, and I would like for you to give these an honest try, because the only difference is that there's an I, but you still do it the same way as if there was an X. So please pause the video and give these a try. All right, so I hope that you at least tried 7 and 8. All right, and so this is what you should have gotten. If you did not get this and you want to ask questions in class, please do so. If you did get this, please pause the video now and give number 9 and 10 a try. It's just more than, just has a little more than the other two. Okay, so hopefully you tried these. All right, on this one you got 3 minus 7i, because the 2 and the 1 combined together gives you 3. And then you had 3i imaginary parts in this one. The negative I and the positive I cancel each other out, and so it just leaves you with negative 7i. Then with this one, we did have 3 parts here. This minus sign meant that we needed to make these the opposite. So that's how I got the opposite of 6 and the opposite of negative 3i. And then I just combined the real parts together to get negative 2. And 8i plus 3i minus 4i gave us positive 7i. So hopefully you found these to be not too bad. Like I said, they're very similar to solving or combining like terms in equations with x. It's literally the same idea. Now, multiplying is very similar as well. However, there's one rule that you have to remember that I pointed out in the last video with the definition. So right here, we're going to use this part where I squared is equal to -1. So I'm just going to remind myself, I squared equals -1. So if I get I squared, I know that equals -1. So my answer should never have an I squared in it. All right, so to multiply two complex numbers, you use the distributive property or the FOIL method, just as you do when multiplying real numbers or algebraic expressions. So for those of you that enjoy the FOIL method, or you like it, you understand it, I am okay with you using it. What I have noticed over the years of teaching is a lot of times with the FOIL method, students leave off parts. So I like to use the box method because then that way I know that nothing's left behind. So I will show what the FOIL method is just in case you've forgotten it. So it's where you take 9, you would multiply it to -4. You take 9, you would multiply it to 7i. So you're taking the first term and you're multiplying it to both of these. Then you take the second term and you would multiply it by -4 and to 7i. So that's all the FOIL method means. It's just like the acronym for it. So I will show the box method with this, but I am absolutely fine with you doing the FOIL method. All right, so this one is just your regular distributive property. We just need to distribute the 4i to both of those. So just like we talked about in the last example, we're still multiplying like that I was an x. So if that was an x, we would do 4 times -6 and get -24. So we have -24i. Then we have 4i times I. So that gives us positive 4i squared. But remember, we don't want I squared because I squared is equal to -1. So we're going to take this I squared and we're going to multiply it to our positive 4. So now we have -2i. 4 times -1 gives me -4. Remember, we have to write in standard form. Standard form says your real part comes first, your imaginary part comes second. So we just need to rewrite it to make that happen. And so this would be your final correct answer. All right, so like I said, with this one, I am going to show the box method. If you're not a box method fan, you do not have to do it. You can use whatever method is easiest for you on this. But like I said, if you lose numbers easily, this might be a better way to organize it and help you. So all I'm going to do is write these. So I've got 9 minus 2i. So I've got this one. I just wrote it here. Could you write it here? Yes, it does not matter which side you write on. Then we have -4. And positive 7i. So we're essentially doing this FOIL method. I'm just doing it to where I make sure I have 4 terms at the end. So -4 times 9 gives me -36. -4 times -2i gives me positive 8i. 7i times 9 would give me 63i. And then 7i times -2i. So 7 times -2 gives me -14, but I times I, remember, gives us I squared. So if you did the FOIL method, I'm just going to draw a line here just so my numbers don't run together. If you did the FOIL method, you would have gotten these. So you would have -36 plus 8i plus 63i minus 14i squared. All right, so now we do need to work with this though. We need to change that I squared into -1. All right, this is why I don't answer my door during this period, because now I got people knocking at the door while I'm trying to make a video. All right, so now we're going to simplify. So we got -14 times -1, that gives us positive 14. If you want to, we can go ahead and combine these two together. So if we add 8 and 63 together, we would get 71i. And then we have this minus 36. So we can actually, oh, that's positive. So we can actually combine these two number parts together. So we can say -36 plus 14, and that would give us -22. So we got -22 plus 71i. and that would be our final answer. It is written in standard form. All right, so your turn. I want you to try. All right, I want you to try some right here. Example 4, self-assessment questions. Please give them a try. Please pause your video and unpause it when you are ready to check your work. Okay, I hope you actually gave this a little effort to see if you've got it. All right, so there are your answers. If you have questions, please ask them in class. Notice this one, when I worked it out, my imaginary part started off in the front, so I just had to rewrite it to be in standard form. All right, and then this one I did use the box method. I rewrote it here and just showed each step. So if you are curious about something here, please ask in class. And then you will come back for a third video for the remainder of the lesson.